So Disney and Disney shill sites have 100% been on the offensive lately when it comes to the Star Wars brand because, oh my God, those pesky consumers, they finally touched a nerve. Now, what's truly telling is how insultingly Disney and Disney shills perceive the very audience they're talking about. And I don't just mean in labels like toxic fandom. I mean, that's pretty bad, mind you, telling people that this label, it's too big to fail. We have enough money and backing, we don't need you. Like I said, that's insulting to everyone out there. But what's even more insulting is how dumbed down they're saying that they need to make the content. You know, because true Star Wars fans, they can't follow complex themes anymore. Yeah, let's read this together because it is an absolute mess. So hey there. Now this is an article from Inverse. And what's really telling about this article? Two things, really. You can see one of them right here in the title. Star Wars sequel trilogy remake. Rumor is preposterous. Trusted leaker says. You know what a trusted leaker is, by the way. It's not a source that comes to you time and again. Oh no, it's somebody running propaganda for a business. It's somebody that they said, hey, why don't you go out, talk to a place like Inverse. They're not going to burn any bridges with us. In fact, they'll go out and they'll get their hands dirty where we won't really have to. And they do, too. They show unabashed hate for certain types of people out there. I mean, look at how this reads. I got a bad feeling about this. Is Disney planning to erase the Star Wars sequel trilogy and replace it with a new Disney Plus miniseries? Is Elvis Presley living with aliens? It's time to come back down to reality. As a child, I too loved tabloids like Weekly World News with their outrageous claims about celebrity brains being replaced by UFOs. But even as a kid, I knew these headlines were bogus. As adults, we should all know that similar headlines about supposed instant remakes of recent Star Wars films are just as credible. Man, can you feel the love there for people that built this brand into billions of dollars in equity so Disney could go out and try to turn it into another soulless cash cow? Yeah, me too. Recently, Star Wars community has been buzzing about a quote-unquote rumor concerning a secret project behind the scenes at Disney and Lucasfilm. It goes like this. Lucas and Disney will use archived footage of, so you have everybody there, and especially paint over the last three movies with a Disney Plus series that tells a new version of the sequel trilogy. Oh, and just to make it spicy, George Lucas will be brought back to quote-unquote direct the CGI Franken Star Wars, originating from the YouTuber called Doomcock. You know they hate Doomcock, by the way. I enjoy the fact that they hate him too. And trumpeted by tabloid outlets like Express, the likelihood that this is going to happen is very close to zero. All you have to do is follow the money. So they're going to tell you about how much money this has made lately. Then they tell you that they reach out to Jason Ward. And what's hilarious about this is that Jason Ward, they're telling you, well, more often than not, he's right with stuff. So he's wrong about things too. But hey, you know, more often than not, therefore. And they says, there's nothing that makes me think anyone has any inkling of reworking the sequel trilogy. In fact, the idea is preposterous. Each of the sequel trilogy films is performing rather well for Disney, Lucasfilm financially. To erase those would weaken a consistent revenue stream that is currently being capitalized on. Now, then they get into financial talking points. They talk about how much money three films here made, and if you look at this just on popularity alone, oh man, look, they made over $4 billion, and they spent $4 billion to acquire the franchise. The thing is that those numbers, box office numbers, they speak to popularity. They don't speak to profit. Profit is about 65% of that domestically, 45% of that worldwide. So yeah, you know, when you're talking about it, they make it sound like that broke even. That's resounding success. And that's not really how it's been perceived. So Inverse, they reached out to Disney for comments on this, but as of writing, they hadn't heard back. In all fairness, honest, there are literally billions of reasons why they wouldn't respond, but the bean counters there, they tell you, they said it's a resounding success without, of course, commenting. If you think about it in numbers, they say, despite what vocal aspects of fandom are saying one way or the other, the larger Star Wars mandate has nothing to do with what YouTubers think. It has nothing to do with what you're saying. The idea of erasing those films would likely anger more fans than it would please. Can you imagine trying to convince the general public that the films they just saw did not matter? This isn't the Terminator franchise. Now, this is one of two insulting points, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to compare and contrast Star Wars with the Terminator franchise, telling you, look at what Terminator did toward the end. They basically went in and neglected the franchise and everything fell apart. Well, what exactly did Star Wars do? I mean, if you look at The Last Jedi, that didn't go out and revere anything that came before it. Oh no, it threw it all in the trash can. But hey, I digress. Then they go into this. This is one of the most insulting statements that you'll find in this. Yes, Star Trek and Marvel get away with this kind of crap all the time, but applying those rules to Star Wars doesn't make a lot of sense. The mediums matter. Despite its success with The Mandalorian, I mean, like I said, this is an insult here. Listen to this. It remains to be seen if Star Wars will be able to convince a huge audience to follow complex, in-the-weeds canon stories on TV. For now, Star Wars is still primarily a franchise anchored by feature films. Yeah, that fandom that kept things alive for decades, outside of movies, picking up books, picking up comics, watching cartoons, playing video games, and on. Yeah, those people, they don't count. I mean, after all, complex in-the-weeds canon stories on TV, yeah, they don't appeal to anyone, do they? I mean, when we think about Disney picking up 86 million subscribers for Disney Plus, that didn't have anything to do with it at all, did it? Oh, man. Then they really insult. They use Carrie Fisher's name as a shield, and that is utterly disrespectful the way that they're playing this. They talk about toxic fandom while doing so, because they can be nasty. They can hold somebody up and say, we don't have to do this because, yeah, but let me read it. There's one more reason these rumors can be dismissed as toxic fandom gibberish. There's literally no reason to think Lucasfilm would disrespect the memory of Carrie Fisher, an actor who placed her faith in J.J. Abrams and Ruin Johnson to make a certain series of films. Fisher co-dedicated her final memoir, The Princess Diaries, to her Star Wars co-stars and directors. Fisher loved working with Abrams and Johnson. Had she not, she wouldn't have said nice things about them. The snub of Return of the Jedi director, it speaks volumes. Fisher wasn't someone who played diplomatic Hollywood games. She was honest and upfront, and she was behind the creative decisions of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, all the way. The idea of erasing Carrie Fisher's final film would be a slap in the face of Fisher's legacy. That's what their source says. That's how they end. So, of course, the money that really didn't make money, look at the Terminator. Look at how different it is, and yet how similar. Carrie Fisher, and of course, all of those dumbed-down movies we need because people, well, they're not so smart. Like I said, what an insulting thing. But then again, that's how Disney perceives the people that buy tickets. That's how they see you. They don't think that you're smart enough to follow along. And that, like I said, that's not really good. That doesn't bode well, especially when you think that, well, they're going to be making decisions going forward. And you've seen a few of those decisions lately. I mean, look at High Republic, for example. Look at what they've been saying publicly. Never forget that stuff. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. And as always, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this stuff work. And yeah, let me say, if you like this channel, you want to help it out, there are links in the description. We have plenty of them. PayPal, Patreon, membership, merchandise. I love saying it that way. And of course, we have our comic book.